Tonight, on this space, we sit down with a woman whose name has become inseparable from one of the most defining moments in Gambian history. But before the tragedy, before the activism, before the global activism as well, there was simply Fatoumata, a brilliant young woman, a classmate of mine, a daughter, a sister, a student leader, and a gifted musician whose life was shaped by family, faith, and ambition long before it was shaped by loss or otherwise tragedy. I want us to begin there with the Fatumata many never got to know. The young woman raised in a close knitted household, one of several siblings navigating school, friendship, and dreams. The student who excelled academically, who stood out in Nusrat PRL Club, who carried herself with quiet confidence and a sharp mind. The young woman who once sang on Gambian stages before her fate guided her towards a different path. Because way too often her story is told only through the lenses of her late father, but she had a full life before that moment, a life that's shaped by resilience, courage, and clarity she carries today. And yet, we cannot tell her story without telling his. Ebrima Solo Sandeng, the activist, the organizer, the father, the man whose political convictions were rooted in justice, dignity, and the belief that Gambians deserve better. His killing in April 2016 did not just shake a nation, it shattered a family, forced them into exile, and transformed Fatoumata's life forever. Tonight, we explore that journey, the day everything changed, the exile that followed, the trauma, the strength, the advocacy, and the long road towards accountability. We talk about the sentencing of those responsible and the unfinished business of justice, and the fate that still awaits former President Yahya AJJ Jammeh. We also look at the work he leads today through the Solo Sandem Foundation, the memorialization, the documentary screening, the healing, the education, the activism, and the ongoing struggle to ensure that her father's sacrifice is neither forgotten nor politicized. This is not just a story about loss, it is a story about identity, conviction, and the power of a daughter who refused to let her father's name to be reduced to headlines. It's a story of Fatoumatta Sandeng before, during, and after the moment that changed the Gambia forever. Fatoumata, welcome to the Dialectic Space podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you, sis. I am fine. I just want to say disclaimer. I'll be calling you sis a lot, so I'll try to say Ibrahim, but it goes back. So I'll just be saying sis a lot. Well, alhamdulillah, I'm doing okay. I hope you're doing okay too.
I'm very well. It's so good to see you.
Nice catching up again, to be honest.
Yes, yes, yes. For a lot of you that don't know, Fatmata and I were in the same class for 3 years in Nuzul High School. We've done some incredible stuff together while we're in Nuzul High School. We had some amazing memories together as well
Yeah,
during our
right.
period in Nuzul High School as peer health members. And so this is really a wonderful, friendly conversation that me and her are going to have after a while. And so I would like to begin
Right.
by also saying that this episode is sponsored by Supersonic Microfinance. For all of your money transfers, whether you are in North America or you're in Canada, Supersonic Microfinance got your back, and you can transfer your money through them. And they have branches to receive those funds all over the country through Ajib Bank, Salam Financial Bureaus, also Easy Financial Bureaus, and SPA Bureaus as well. And you can also reach them anywhere in the Gambia on 3567 666, 3567 666, or 4089 291 4089 291. Supersonic Microfinance are the sponsors of this episode. And today, my guest again is Fatoumatta Sandeng. Famata, so we're going to get into the conversation. A lot of people are
All
excited,
right.
and we're looking forward to this conversation as well. I think it's been a while since we've held any conversation or interview at all.
Oh, nice. I'm happy
Yeah,
to be
so
here.
so before we talk about the events that shape your public life, I want us to begin with you, Fatoumata herself. Who was Fatoumata prior to 2016?
I mean, that's a very big and wide question because that's everything else before 2016. I I would just say like you described, like I was a girl becoming a lady, or maybe I don't know. I was a young lady. I would describe who was ambitious, whose life took a U-turn and very important one at that time. But I was. I was a lot of things. I was a daughter, like you said. I was a sister. I was a friend. I was a Red Cross volunteer. I was a
Mhm.
student once, and I was a musician. That part of my life, I can't take it away. But I was just an ambitious, outgoing, and I think a happy young girl, young lady at the time before 2016, and a lot more. I guess we'll get into a lot more of that, inshallah.
And you were very brilliant too academically. I remember nobody was messing with you in our class then. There were very few students who, I didn't care very much about leading the class. I think when I was younger, that used to be a preoccupation. But there were very few students in my class in those days that I knew very well. Used to be sad if they were not like top five students. And I could confidently say you were one of those students in Newton High School.
It's not my fault. Not only it's not only in Nusrat, to be honest, like even like it was primary, junior school and high school. I think my school life has education is not only school, but even now where it's like gone up from tertiary to university now and stuff. I can't miss classes. I really struggle to do my best. I think that's gotten down now, right? Getting older, you realize, you
Yeah.
know what? But if I have 1 point less to get an A, when I started, like even university, I was like, oh my God, why should I? But now I'm like, you know what, relax. It's fine.
Yeah.
it's just a B, you're fine, but yeah, I know I'm sure I was not the smartest. But yeah, you guys were there. You were just trying to just let me do whatever I wanted to do, but I'm sure you were smart too.
No, you guys were no, you were actually really good. Like you and the Rohibanguras, the Bakiba contest, and
Yeah,
the
right.
Ablai Bojang. Now I see him on the national television doing his thing. It's so amazing to see
It was
everybody
an
there.
amazing class. It
Yes.
was an amazing class. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
For those
an
of you who don't
amazing.
know, we're talking about Nusrat Arts Class 2009 to 2012. That was our batch.
We
But
really
yes,
talk about that.
so Famada also talk to us about. I think it's hard to have any conversation without beginning with bringing your dad, your late father, into the
Mhm.
conversation. But I would really want you
Right.
to talk to us about what sort of household were you raised in, and how
Mhm.
would you describe your family dynamic growing up as well?
Um. So my childhood was beautiful, right? It depends. It's subjective how you describe beauty, but to me, it was peaceful. It was beautiful. I'll say one thing: we did not grow up being very comfortable financially.
Mhm,
Solo wasn't financially very comfortable, but he was morally, character wise, and humanly enough and very content and comfortable. And that gave us the comfort as well that we had, right? My family is like very close. I'm very close to my siblings. Even now, we do everything together. And my mom would say, "I'll talk." I'll tell mom better. Whatever she says before, if she calls the other person, they would say, "Oh, I've spoken to the other person already."
mhm,
Like, what is wrong with you? So you could say like childhood families that are not really too close or not very happy together and stuff. That was not our family because
mhm,
our parents, I would say, especially my dad, taught us to be content with whatever you had.
mhm,
Like I said, there were very tough times with my dad. Not that he was a tough person, but let's say financially, right? Fair enough. He was working and stuff, but he had kids. He was a cook there, and then he had his own business going on, so he was not doing very well. But one thing was very significant to him: we had to have the best education, the best support. That way, he doesn't mind selling anything that he had, but we wouldn't miss a day of school. We can't even go to school late because he would tell me, "Mbe bundle school. School." You
He was
can't.
serious
So
about school. Yeah.
oh my God, he was really serious about school. And then that was him. He was an independent person. People
Mhm,
who knew Solo later, that is how he had lived his life, even at home. He wouldn't pressure you into anything, but he would also seek your advice, even as his children. Like he wants to take
mhm,
a decision and he sees us frowning and stuff. We will have a conference at home. We will talk. Okay, I want to do this. What do you think? We say, but if you don't think it's nice, he
mhm,
drops it. He listens. And those values that he instilled in us and showed us that it is not about money, it's not
yeah.
about luxury. Where we lived in our compound, people who knew me from before knew we don't even have like our house didn't have a compound door. We didn't have a gate, let's say.
Mhm,
That's it. The Pakunda where we live, we were all born and raised. We didn't have a gate. But you know what? That made it very open that people spend the whole day and night in that house
mhm,
every character, every kind of people. It didn't make us bad people. It made us learn about life, but it made us also welcome every kind of person. Because you will not have dinner if someone else comes and needs lunch. Because Solo would say, just bring the food. He taught us how to give without expecting anything back, and to be
Mhm.
very happy giving and to be very happy helping. I think that shapes somebody's life, children especially. And I would just say alhamdulillah for that. And our mother was amazing as well. I mean, it was a beautiful family, like I said, built on values, not anything material. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big lesson that carries me into today.
That's beautiful. I've had the pleasure of meeting your mom a few times. I remember in high school.
Yeah.
She was amazing. I'm sure she still is wonderful as she was when I met her the first time. And your
She's
siblings
getting
as
old,
well.
so
Yeah, right. I mean, all of them are. All of us are too. You know, like I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
mean,
yay.
I'm going to like I've taken a disclaimer. Really, I think I will be forever 15 or 16 or whatever. Because a friend of mine is doing that. It's working for her. This is scary, like how the things are going. So I'm just going
Right?
to clock back.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah,
And so you also have siblings. Mohammed is there. Altogether, how
mhm.
many of you? How many siblings you have?
So I have 8 siblings. We're nine.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, like yeah, same mom and dad. We're all alive, and it's beautiful how we all
Yeah.
love each other, support, listen. And yeah, like I mentioned before, if you start with my family, I don't stop. That's the problem. It's yeah, so I just have to like control myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right, but
you know, uh, obviously you've talked about just the value and the premium at which your dad put on education, even though,
yeah.
you know, I mean, to a large extent, he go through so much to where some of you have reached in terms of academics. But
Mm.
before 2016, what would you say have always been sort of the ideal profession that you've always like sort of want to become as you grow up? Obviously you were going to school, you were also a musician. I'm so in between. There's something that you've always wanted to become as you grew up and the direction at which you want to take. Talk to us about that. What were any sort of jobs or career that you were envisioning yourself prior to 2016?
Yes, I mean, like I said, I was a lot of things, and I was thinking a lot of things, right? So, growing up from school, we were in the arts class, right? And I chose arts because I wanted to become a lawyer. And I'll tell you a short story. When we went to register in Nusrat, they didn't want me to go to the arts class. They were like, okay, your grades are so good. So one thing is from junior school, Fati, right?
Yeah.
Kemo Fati I was in junior school, Munazamat Al Dawra Al Islamiyya. He seniored me one class, and he got the best mark the year. That was 2008, I think. So ours was 2009. And when he came to class advising, I was like, I need to get the grade that he got. Like, I need to be the first. Alhamdulillah, I got the first mark in the whole school in 2009. I went to Nusrat. So I said, I want to go to arts. It's like, what? No, you can't do that. You came out first in your whole school. I'm like, yeah, but that's my choice. But
Mhm.
like, and that comes down to the education system, not to say anything bad about schools and stuff like that. But if you have good marks, they say you're science or commerce and you're not arts.
Yes.
I remember my first when we went inside with my dad, and I said no, that's what I want. And they said, could you go out and rethink and come back? I said, yeah, no, that's fine.
Mhm.
My dad doesn't force anyone. Whatever you want to choose, as long as it's not a bad thing, your future or whatever you want to choose, that's fine, right? We went outside. He said, "You're sure?" I said, I'm sure I want to be a lawyer. And when I want to be a lawyer, I can't go to commerce or science. So I wanted to be a lawyer. So I insisted, and I got registered into, science. I mean, arts in Nusrat, and I wanted to become a lawyer. And like, if you remember, government was my best subject in
Yes.
school.
Mr. Anan.
Ada is that,
Adai.
right?
Oh, yeah, I'm mixing them
Adai.
already. Oh
Yeah,
my
because
God.
because they're always together. And then it was the
Yes.
vice principal.
He
So you
was
see that
great, by the way. Oh my
was
God.
amazing. He was amazing. I mean, he was. I mean, so government was my best subject because I just wanted to be a lawyer and stuff like that. Going forward, I started in the Red Cross, right? And being a volunteer, doing first aid, intensive first aid, and everything. I was aligned to helping people. So there was the thought of being a nurse or a doctor in my head at some point. But in the long run, I changed to I want to be a lawyer. Then I went to the arts class, right? And as you know, I was in school and I was still singing. So I don't know all that I wanted to be, that I was. It was a lot of things. But to be honest, being a lawyer was something big that I held in my heart. But it just didn't work out. I think when we finished school, before getting to other levels of education, I was really fully immersed in the music, and it became a full-time career for me, traveling
Mm,
and having albums and here and there, and that takes over your life because you're performing at night, you're coming to sleep in the morning, then you go for rehearsals the whole day, and so it's basically life. And like,
yeah,
it was a solo artist, it was a whole band, so
yeah.
then life started taking another direction. And I guess I just stayed there. And prior to 2016, when I stopped music and stuff like that, you're talking about Supersonic. It was my first employer when I stopped music.
Oh,
I
wow.
worked at, yeah, I worked at Supersonics for until 2016, April 2016. I didn't even resign because I had to go to exile. So I
Yeah.
started working at Supersonics as what was I?
Taylor?
No, no, I was not a teller. I was
Yeah,
yeah, I was talking too much to get customers, and then having been their account officers and stuff. So I did that. I was a marketing officer actually,
yeah.
at Supersonics, and worked at different branches at Supersonics. So it was amazing, like different things that you do in life being young, and there are avenues that are really open. So yeah, um,
Yeah.
I wanted to be a lot of things. Bottom line is that.
As you go through it, the interesting thing about you, I remember vividly, now that we're talking about it, is I remember those days where you will have a show or your band will go play somewhere in the middle of the night. You will have to get back home, and then literally the next morning you'll still have to be in class to sit the papers that, or for example, when we had tests or exams that we had to do. And
Was amazing.
how you were able to do that, only you could tell us that, because you will still come out and still kick all of our asses in the exams. And that was really impressive because at the time also, Farmer, that in many ways there were not a lot of young people like yourself who are in the national spotlight doing music like that.
Right,
And what
right,
a lot of
yeah.
people did not see as well at then is that you were
Mm-hmm.
very academically sound. Like you were doing very well in your classes as well. And so there were times
Right.
that even us, your classmates, were worried about how you were able to juggle those two.
I
Um,
know.
in terms of doing that and also being in the music as well. I think it was a lot, huh?
It was a lot, and but I think when I've learned something from, I think from that young age and everything, as long as you want to do something, you put your heart to it and say, this is
Yeah,
what I want. You just have to have the conviction that is what you want. Once you set that in your head and say, this is what I want to do. Okay, I was doing music, but I was a student, and I can't dare drop out of school. And I
yeah,
can't dare just, be, if I used to be first in class or the first five, then I become being the 10 or the next 20s and stuff. Like, what is my aim in life? Do I really want to be a musician all my life? But do I want to excel and do something else? Even if I was a musician like my whole life, did I want to maybe pursue something else if I was not doing music? I think that's just me. If I set something in my head and I really want to do that, somewhere the zeal comes, and you'll be surprised. People who know me now and really close to me will tell you that's the same way I am still, juggling a lot of things, and they're really difficult. But then, like I said, you just want to do it, and you get to do
yeah.
it. I mean, yeah.
So how was it like stepping away from music that in many ways have been very characteristic of what a lot of people knew you of then, and so you had to make
Right.
this very popular and otherwise unpopular decision to a lot of people as well who were identifying with what you're doing with the band, and you just made the decision to step away from it. How was that like, and how has that experience been like for you so far?
I mean, I would say it was a hard decision, but it was not a hard decision
Okay.
because the decision was not mine at all. I didn't plan to make a decision. It was made for me. And when I say made for me, I let's go to this spiritual realm now,
Yeah.
right? I feel called to something by a greater power, the greatest power. You have nothing to do about that. It's like we say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. If Allah needs someone or says their time is over in this world, what can we say? What can we do?
Yeah.
So that it was Ramadan. It was just like a short story. It was Ramadan, and there was this ustad that was my brother's friend. And then my mom said, I think you should just come and teach us some Quran, this Ramadan, teach the kids. And this girl, you should tell her to take off her dreadlocks, and then she should just come and join your dada. And then he said, no, that was my mom. He said, no, let her be, she'll be fine.
Mhm.
And yeah, eventually I was like, okay, I think I would join the dara and stuff. But it's just for Ramadan, because that then one thing that was really great about the band is that in Ramadan we didn't have any shows. We didn't even practice. It was off. So we had time. So I thought, yeah. So I would just join the dara because I was doing Quran lessons before as a child, come in normal dara.
Yeah.
Then I just for the sake of it, to be honest, I'm being genuine with you. For the sake of it, I just said, okay, he's coming to the house. We would just have the data with everyone, my mom and my siblings. Funnily, I became very close to those dad, right? Because I had done the surahs before.
Yeah.
And being a musician, there is this voice, right? When you recite, it's really catchy and really nice. And the
Yeah.
ustad was really happy to have someone. The house was really nice when we recite. I was very quick to know the surahs and stuff. So I would just visit the mom and stuff like that. And he was very wise. He kept taking me, I remember, to people who were singing but then stopped, right? I didn't mind because that was not my plan. And I remember one day I said, Ustad, Mansuweru ka repase na madelu wa de sol yuma de sol de. And he said, Astaghfirullah, Fatima Bulwah
Astaghfirullah,
Lolo, yeah.
astaghfirullah.
Well, Fatima Lolo, subhanallah. Bulwah Lolo, like you can, Allah can do anything. I was
Yes.
like, no, I'm just telling you when I'm done, because I don't want to be like tomorrow is Eid and I'm gone back to perform. And where is Fatima in the class? I'm like, I'm not there. So I was just telling him my truth. But then the last 10 days of Ramadan came. I would go in the first 10 nights, right? I would just, let's say, 5, 6 nights. I would go, we would pray, myself, my sister, and the ustaz. We would be at the female section, we would be at the male section. Normal. We would do tarawih, tahajjud at night. We would go home. And this night, the imam who was teaching was like directly talking to me. Like, what are you saying? And he said, you people, just make sure that you don't waste all your Ramadan, like every fasting that you did, every Quran you listen to, make sure on the day of Eid you don't start playing music, listening to it, because it would just have to, like, it would affect all the deeds that you did. It's like you come from Ramadan without being cleansed and everything. So beware. And you women who put on short clothes and stuff, your brothers, your dads, your moms, they're there and they don't tell you anything. And to be honest with you, says these two things were what I did. SubhanAllah, may Allah forgive our sins. May Allah, you know, protect us and forgive us and everything. Was for the
Amen.
sake of it, for the sake of it, it just directly came to me. I was like, if this person is telling people not to go to music concerts, and I'm preparing each day to have a concert, who am I? Like, what am I? If they are not supposed to go, what about me who was supposed to stand on stage and do the music thing? I started crying, and that's it. It's like my heart was in one place and Allah just took it together, packed it together and shifted it in another world where I saw nothing but him, and I heard nothing but, you need to come close to me.
Yeah.
And that was it. I cried the whole end of the salah, and I went out and the ustaz was standing there. I said, Paranga, I couldn't speak. So Fatima, look here. I'm like, Ustaz, as of today, Manduma Musalifat music. It's just like that. And
Wow.
I said, as of today, I'm not taking off this hijab that's on my head to pray. And he cried. He was like,
Wow.
what did you say? I said, I don't know what happened to me just now, but I'm not, I don't want another feeling. He cried. He said, do you know how many nights I prayed to Allah to call you to Him without saying a word to you? It's an example that you can make dua for people. You can wish them well without telling them you are bad, you are this, you are that. I learned a lot of lessons there. That da'wah or calling people to Allah doesn't really need you to blast people, even if they're the worst people. Because that guy taught me the Quran. He let me meet the mom. He took me to people who were on this road, but they took another. He prayed for me at night without telling me, Fatima, I'm praying for you. So if you intend good for other people, just do it for the sake of Allah without telling them they're trash, because you don't know where they will end,
Yeah.
And since then, alhamdulillah, it's it was a very heavy decision how to break that to my parents, how to break
Yeah.
that to the band, how to break that to Gambia. I had to be in hiding for like a month or so. because radios, TVs, interviews, like even Pa Usman, right? I remember Paul's youth. All of them, Lamin Jam, the champion, right? We need to interview you. What happened? I was like, I'm not talking to anyone. I didn't know what to say because would it be so crazy that you explain this kind of story to someone? Like, what happened to you? This is what happened to me on a prayer mat, and
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done. And at that time, it hurt so bad because we had a whole US tour with the band, and everybody's visa application is of sort of, dependent on I was the lead singer with Ali, right?
Mhm.
And most of it was, if I say I'm out, who's singing for you? Like, Tuvia, what's the discrepancy here? And then I felt so bad. I cried so bad because they would think I'm such a wicked person. But wallah, it was not that. If I had to choose them over again, over everybody else, I grew up with that band, I would choose them. If I had to choose them and Allah, I had to go for him. And it was hard. And I hope they forgive me for that.
I mean, I think that's profound in many ways, and clearly you've been on a spiritual journey. I've seen you about a decade ago, and I know where you are, and I've been very in tune with your life, especially the public part of who you are. So it's
Mm.
really amazing to see how peaceful it has been for you in many ways, your spiritual journey,
Yeah.
and so it's really wonderful to see. But really, moving on to your late father, Ebrima Solo Sandeng, somebody that
Mm.
whose tragedy has been perhaps the single most defining thing that ever happened to the Gambia. Nobody prays for a situation like that to happen, and I can only
Mm.
imagine what your family has been through and continue to go through in light of his loss that all of us shared or continue to share with all of you. But before the politics, Fatima, who was your father to you at home, as a parent, also as a man?
He was my friend. Not only my friend, he was our friend. I call him my beloved. I feel like after Allah, after the Prophet Sallallahu, there's no one who occupies my heart with love, admiration, and respect than that man. Because like I said, he didn't have it all in the world, just saying finances and stuff, but he had it all as well. He was the most kind person that you could see. He was the father who was there for you, with you, everywhere. Just like he was just everywhere. I was talking about junior school. Those people who knew me in junior school knew my father was everywhere there. Like wherever we had, he was there. In high school, in my primary school, my father, when he was, up to his death, he was PTA chairperson for Nusrat and for
Yes,
Bakote, right? For
yes.
both of them. So that just shows you how involved he has been from my primary school, for our primary school, I would say. And he still he got stuck. He was there being the chairperson, and then became the chairperson for Nusrat as well because I was there, right? So he would go to every PTA meeting, organize events, just come and have checks, just he was present. I think that's what a lot of people fail to understand today. You don't give me millions. You don't build houses for me or mansions for me to have you in my heart forever. You just need to be present and show me that you are the one for me. And that's what Solo was to everyone. He was the best, I would say, in my perspective. My mom can say otherwise, but from what I learned, I would want him to be the man for my child because Solo took care of my mom as a sister, not just a wife, honored and respected her, and then including her family, right? The mom, my dad took care of my grandmother to her death, right? And he was not pompous. We lived in my mom's family house until we all grew up. And Solo didn't think, that's my in-laws' house. Matungam fanketeng yalong bianyonte bendoya and dilala stuff. He didn't mind about stuff like that. That's someone with a great mindset. He built houses there. He built bakeries there. He took care of my uncle, my grandmom, everything because it was his home. He had his own place where my family is now, but firstly, that was home for him. So it was not grudges or anything. He was just leaving because that's who he was. And honestly, I I would say that he taught me the woman I am today. And he showed me, I'm not sure where, but there's a lot of noise from your end.
They're vacuuming. My studio is in my garage, so I apologize for that. So I
Ah, yeah,
can't do
okay,
much
no
about
worries.
that.
No
Yes.
worries. So I just wanted to say, like, Solo taught
Yes.
me to be the woman that I am today and the woman that I deserve to be. And I think to all of my siblings as well. But also to the guys, the men they should be, to their wives, to their children, just to family, how you value family. So if you ask me who Solo was, really, I don't know if I can exhaust that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he was just everything, to be honest. And yeah.
How did the family felt about, or even when you guys learn about his politics, how was that being received in the household, knowing fully well at the time, Gambia was the president of the country, and you know how that goes, and the attendant
Yeah.
risks that are associated with it. But how did the family receive it?
I mean, he was really clear on what he wanted to be, what he wanted to do. So when you talk about caring for other people first before oneself, being so selfless in your quest for justice, that's that man, right? He was involved in politics a long time. Like, we were all born and found him being a politician. So I don't know what we had to do,
Yeah.
but that's what we knew. That's what we knew. There will be meetings at home, youth meetings. I was like, he was not only a politician, but he was community leader. Um, they will have bakers organization and stuff. He would just form it and call people. Dipakunda Chupta Nyode Makafo is called that. Like, it was like a youth group in the country, in the community, that was doing trainings on HIV and AIDS, women's rights, and all of those things. And he would just establish those things, right? And in politics, he showed what he wanted to be. And you talk about one of the most consistent people in politics, it's that guy. Solo was one person that APRC that time followed, gave him money. They wanted him to come to them because he was very influential in UDP in our areas. He didn't mind, he didn't care. Yet, if they had any events or store, let's say people that he knew, he would be there. Like, he doesn't mind. So you have a core and you're not shaken,
Yeah.
doesn't actually affect your humanity. And I think that's a profound thing that I have learned to have in life. There is this core that's not moving, and that should be fine. So we couldn't do anything about his politics. He was a politician. We respected that, but he was such a fair person, and he wanted justice for victims that were tortured in the Jama regime. I didn't understand why, but I saw newspapers that Solo had of victims who I know now were tortured, and he was trying to investigate their cases before. So he was not only a politician, he was just, I think, an activist at the time for everyone.
What would you say, or what do you think people misunderstood about who he was beyond just a tragedy?
Mhm. So I mean, for Solo as a person in politics, I wouldn't think there were controversies around him, right? But one thing people, I would say, would misunderstand now, hearing Solo just in 2016, is that he just got up on that day. But that's a misconception. He has been the grassroots in that area. He has been arrested time and again. He has been a very, very, like, the then government didn't only see Solo as a threat in 2016. That is why it was easy and they wanted to eliminate him, because they told him. They arrested him time and again. He spent, I think the last time he was in mile two, he had spent like 22 days, I guess. I remember. He was just arrested because they held a household meeting, right? And he was taken to Brikama, the police station, and stuff like that. And I remember the day he was being arrested from the house, and then he was taken to Miles just like that, not given bail, and he was there for 22 days. And we would go there visit him. He was there doing politics inside, campaigning. To be honest, man, he didn't know that nothing was going on. He was just campaigning in there, and he was so unbothered. Like,
Yeah,
what?
conviction.
And yeah, I mean, and then they told him, if we arrest you again, we will kill you.
Wow.
And I remember, yeah, I remember having heard that. And I confronted, I will not mention names, but someone who was really in the APRC circle that time, who sat at where we had practice as a musician. And I confronted him. I said, I heard what your people said. They're going to kill my dad, they said. And I'm so disappointed in you guys. We're just trying to protect someone who didn't need your protection anyway, but as a daughter. I just thought I had to do that. So Solo, the biggest misconception also is that people think Solo was misled on April 14, 2016. Solo is a man who does what he wants to do. And he doesn't get misled in anything he didn't want to do. That guy was the most focused person that I know who didn't talk too much. He would tell you,
Mhm.
"Nkana nyineke," and that's what he would do. Right?
Yeah.
So he knew he was going out on April 14, 2016, and he was not misled by anyone. I hear rumors about prominent people in the politics saying, oh, they betrayed him. Of course, he had told all other political parties to come out and protest with him, but to say that someone told Solo, go out and I'll come with you, and he was betrayed, that's why he was killed. No. Solo died because he went out for Gambia with a conviction. He wanted to be out there. Maybe he didn't think he was going to die that day,
Yeah.
but he told me that morning, I am going on a peaceful protest today. But maybe I wouldn't come back today. Just make sure the family is safe.
Would you say that, like your strong willness and the power of your advocacy, which I've seen very close, including on drama on stage, when you and I used to act plays in Nuzrat High School, and
I
we
saw a
we
picture few days ago when you told me we need to. I don't know. I saw a picture of me and you in our drama gowns. Or I was like, "What is this?" He's
I know. So we used to do a lot, and you and I and
yeah,
Haruna Diba, well, we had a really brilliant team, and the chemistry was incredible. And anywhere we go,
amazing.
everybody could
Sorry.
see it in terms of how we could dramatize on a
Yeah.
variety of
Yeah.
issues. But you've always come out
Mhm.
to be very strong-willed, very articulate, but also your oratory has always been incredible, even when you were very young. And so I'm curious to ask you, that strong will that you have to sort of always, especially when it comes to injustice, to speak up your mind. Uh, where did you? Would you say that that is definitely inspired by Solo, that came from Solo, or from your mom, or what part of your family? Because especially when that infamous incident happened when Solo died, you became the voice. You were in all international media platforms. In fact, in Gambia, there were viral videos of you where you were literally talking about my dad was killed by the state. You were unbothered, you're not scared, you were vocal, and you stood your ground, and you wanted to make sure people understood the importance of that moment in terms of galvanizing support for everyone to understand that your dad was actually killed. Where did you get that
Mhm.
spirit from?
I mean, we were just talking about my dad, but also my mom. I think there's this part about being the sweetest people in the world, right?
Yeah.
They are the most accommodating people. They're the sweetest. They're the best people that you can do anything to, and they can sort of accept it, and they're good people. But even my mom, let's not talk about my dad yet. But if she's gotten enough of it, in the family they tell her she's the last born, but she's the most vocal. Like she tells you what she has to say, but she's the most person to care for everyone as well. I think so. There is this mixture of from my mom and from my dad's side. From my dad, he is a hater of injustice, and I would say profoundly kind of inherited that from him. In my band before, they called me the female Nelson Mandela because for some reason, whatever, I mean, someone else would be wronged and I'm there quarreling with everyone else and having like a 1 week not talking to people because of someone else's issues, which I'm not bothered about, to be honest. So if you ask, that is from the parents, but also that is from the upbringing in the family, because I was not silenced in my family. I was not rude, but I was not silenced in my family, and I saw that it was like raising a family with truth, also with conviction, and knowing you have an opinion and you're right, and you have to be the sweetest person, but you don't also have to accept injustice, and not only the teachings but the actions of those two people. I think yeah.
So that famous, infamous day that your dad fall prey to the hands of the state of the country, the Gambia. Uh, I want us to spend a little bit of time. There's a lot of information if anybody want to understand the full context. Famata has talked about this in detail, and talking about it again has its own attendance, emotional risk. And I don't want to put you in that position. So whatever you're uncomfortable to share, by all means, please don't. But if you would give us an opportunity to understand what was that moment like for you when the information came out to learn that your dad was in fact being killed by the government of the Gambia? Where was the family? What was happening to you, specifically you, and how did you receive the information? I cannot begin to imagine, but if you would really walk us through how that experience was like.
Yeah, so I would say aside from the TRC, I'm getting into the details of this conversation. Maybe let's see what we would do today. But I think the TRC was the place where they needed every information when they
Yes.
interviewed us. We
Hmm.
couldn't talk about some elements because the case was in court, really. But when it comes to the personal side, how we felt, how we took care of it,
Yeah.
how what all that happened, that was the only place probably I went deep into this conversation. Everything else was advocacy around it. But yeah, I was at work. Supersonics.
Uh-huh.
I worked at the Backwater branch at some point because I was transferred. So while I was there, but my dad, like I said, told me that morning, I'm going on a protest. Maybe I wouldn't come back. So when you close, don't come back home. And on that morning, he took my mom and our youngest child, Nyaling. The others went to school, and he took Nyaling and my mom to a friend's house and said, you people stay here because I'm not sure if I think I'll be arrested, right? But I don't want them to come to the house and do anything, right?" He knew who he was dealing with, and then he said, "You're going to walk, everyone." My sister Aminata was posted in Basay. She was walking with MRC at the time, and my brother Malik was in there. Muhammad, I think he was back home, but he went to school as well. So at that point in time, funnily, I was the oldest in the house, right? Because the two elders were not in the house. So that kind of I think related to the fact that my dad said, whatever happened, make sure the family is safe. I mean, someone tells you that and goes and never comes back, you can't relent, can you? Like, why did he tell me that? Why was that his last words to me? Did he see something to convince him that I could try, at least with the help of Allah, to make sure my family is safe? Because this family was there to him. So I was at work. I was uncomfortable, of course. Like he told me he might be arrested, but that's what I heard. So I was there around like 5, or maybe not 5 because 5 we would have closed, and maybe 3 to 4 around there. And I heard people running from the Serkunda market towards like Tipa garage, right? And they were like, coup d'etat, coup d'etat. I was like, coup d'etat, what? And then I got a call from I think my mom and my siblings. They were checking if I was safe. I say, what happened? So I think we have this confirmation that your dad has been arrested. I say, yeah. When I saw people running, I knew my dad was must have been arrested, and it must have been a peaceful protest, right? And that was it. Well, what we did, I think we gathered. I went to my best friend's house because my dad said, "Don't come home." So we were all not home immediately. But you know what? We spoke, and my mom said, "I'm going back home." And I said, "I'm coming home." We all went back home because at that time, if our dad got lost and we're scattered everywhere, sitting like, let's go back home. Whatever happens, let's go where he is, right? So from that moment, the conviction is we're not leaving Solo alone. Even if we're not where he has been taken, we will be home because that's where he lived, right? So my mom said, I'm going home. And we all went back home. Obviously, my mom and Mohammed, and I stayed with the kids. My mom and Mohammed went all around the police stations, mile two, everywhere, NIA. Because I know he's not with us, he's not here. But we knew already he was with them. But I think it was April 14th, right? The exact night of April 15th, someone told us we have I remember we were sitting outside in the corridor and someone said we have inside information that actually Solo has been told he's dead. That's what they said. I remember turning and said, like I said, I directly took the responsibility from that morning when my dad left, right? I told my mom, don't worry about it. I don't think it's true. And my younger siblings, I said, no, it's not true. Just forget about it. Let's not concentrate. So that it, we were there April 15th. We were still, trying to see. And April 16th in the morning, I was just sleeping very early in the morning and I just heard screaming. So Yakumba JJ, who was in
UDP.
Parliament
Hmm.
at a, she lived not far from us, but the mom was very close. So we were very close family friends. But the sister lived in the US, right? And I think the sister called the mom and said, I mean, according to news, because we're not sleeping right now, I think Solo has been killed. And they came home shouting, screaming, and woke up everyone. And then, that must be so chaotic. Like they're screaming, they're crying, they're convinced. what they're saying. And we're like confused. We're like, do you believe? I kind of believed, but I kind of did not want to believe, I guess, right? I felt like maybe there's just rumors. So we just had to rush and go to pipeline, fast forward to Pausenu, and then we were like, this is what we heard. So we just we just got to the house, and Pausenu just looked at us and cried, right? His tears just rolled. He said, I got information last night. Daya Solo has been killed, and the rest of them have been tortured. And that was it, right? He just he just didn't know what to do. He said, I want to confirm, but this is the information that I got. So he asked us to go back home. So we went back home and he went round to Banjul and everywhere. And when they came back to the house, they just further confirmed. But at that point, the house was just so filled with people. So you didn't have space. You can't think. You're like all over the place. You're everywhere. We had to go back. When Pausen came and confirmed, he went back home, and that's when the April 16 protest thingy happened. What happened is that we rushed, and I think I left the house with Mohammed, and we started chanting from the Pakunda to Pipeline, shouting in the streets that our dad has been killed with, I think, some of my cousins and stuff. And we went to Usaino's house and people were gathered. That's when he was addressing people to say we need to go out and stuff. And I think I felt that talk was still taking a little long, right? So I stood outside and that's the interview I think you're talking about. That every journalist came, they were like, what happened? I said, I'm marching right now towards wherever my dad is. He was arrested at the PIU, office in Carnifing. I would march towards that place and ask for my father's body, or at least let them show us where he is, because I want to be where he is. If he's been killed, at that point, I wanted to be with him. But if he were alive, wounded, or whatever, we just wanted to see him because you just can't tell us we don't have him, he's dead and stuff. It was a mess already. My mom was sitting there crying and stuff like that at home. So then the whole protest happened, right, in 2016. And to our surprise, we got intercepted on Comium, right? The protest. Funnily, they were targeting myself, Mohammed, and just few people like the family and UDP, thingy. And then they actually arrested people. And they kind of hit Mohammed on the hand. They missed him, but he rushed. For some reason, someone later told me they were the one who pushed me in a taxi to take me home because they saw that I was a target. My family was a target. So they pushed me in a taxi. I don't know what that was, but someone just drove me away. And yeah, but we tried to go back home. And when we were reaching home, there was a truck full of military PIU with guns coming to the house, right? So we just had to get home quickly and we were just bundled again. My mom, all of us, the siblings, and we were thrown into the neighbor's house just next to us. Like I think three houses, we were just scattered in there to hide us there because they ransacked the whole house. They were just checking because no one dared sit and mourn and think, okay, our dad was dead, right? So they were just intimidating everyone. So I don't know. The whole thing started being a nightmare from them. We went from embassy to the other. We couldn't go back home, and embassies were all closed. They all shut their doors. The family went through something, a whole lot. And from that day, April 16, we had to hide for a week. Especially myself, I didn't. My uncles didn't allow me to go out because you know what? I was singing and I was known and I was the one challenging Jamie at the time. So I just had to be indoors like 1 week. And then I had to connect with Duga DC at the time, Auntie Awa Tukulor C, and a few people who connected me to someone. And I did the riskiest thing that I think I've ever done in life. I said yes to taking out a family of 10 from the Gambia to Senegal. But I was warned you don't have to say anything to your mom or your siblings. They don't have to know what the plan is. You can't tell them. They just need to park early in the morning and you guys will be driven out. Says, can you imagine? Like, I told my mom and the siblings, I think I am convinced I want to do this, but please don't ask me where we're going. What's going to happen? That's one part of it. But the second part is that what if I am parking my whole family and taking him towards death. And that was one of the worst feelings that one could, you know. I was sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but we made it, and we're here today. But the biggest thing I can say is until today, I'm so grateful for the trust that my family had, right? Because where are you taking us? I didn't plan for this interview to be one that I will cry
It's okay.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need a minute, I think. I'll get.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you're all sorry about that. I'm talking to Fatoumatta Sandeng. Obviously, you know Solo Sandeng and the tragic, um, very unfortunate. Yeah.
I just need a I just need a tissue. I mean, I think we can go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was
Mhm.
yeah. No, it was a scary moment. And I think this talking about it, brings back how scared you were parking your family and a whole stranger comes to pick you all up and you all pack yourselves and enter. And as the car moved, you were like, everything is on your head, in your hands, whatever happens today. Your dad is gone and you're taking your whole family as well. I don't know. We just had to do something and I had to just do something and that was it. So yeah, it was difficult to get out of the country, especially for me and stuff. But we made it, like I said, and it was difficult times in exile and stuff. But here we are today, a family that's standing, refusing to be victims altogether, but being activists and continuing the work that Solo started and some things that he believed in as a Gambian, right? So we just say alhamdulillah because it's not because we're too powerful or too smart to be able
Yeah.
to have done that. So
Yeah. And I can't help myself because I think it's very unfortunate thinking about it, and I think if not for Solo's passing, as everybody knows and most people acknowledge, we would not have been able to see the change that we saw in 2016. And nobody likes to lose a family member. That's is single most devastating thing anybody can go through. But to experience the trauma and the just how graphic at which he lost his life in the hands of the state is pretty unfortunate. And so I cannot really
mm,
begin to even think about what that experience was like, the family being forced to go to exile to spend some time there, and then the change happened, then you have to come back again, and that part of your life is forever missing. It's Solo is forever gone, but his legacy would forever be here. And I just hope
mm,
a lot of us would have his courage, and grit and sacrifice and love for country to do what he's able to do, to stand on what he believes in, and for a bigger purpose more than himself. I think that's something that a lot of us would remember him for forever. But Sandeng, the change happened in 2016, and then you guys eventually ended up coming back, and so the quest for accountability began. How do you see what is happening or what has been happening so far in terms of how the government have answered to the clarion call of accountability for Solo and others like Solo, all of whom have lost their life
mm.
to the brood of the Jembe government?
Right. So like there are two sides to this, right? It is obvious that there will be an emotional side attached to this for a father, like you said, and imagining he was tortured to death by people. It's too painful to see that why he said you can kill me. And obviously these were words from people who witnessed the whole incident. You may kill me today, but there will be change. Solo had hope beyond himself for us, for the generations, but for country, right? You can kill me, there will be change, right? So on the emotional part, on the family part, saying, okay, I'm okay, I'll accept the fact that I've lost him. But we hope that at least like what he died for would be achieved and people would love country. I mean, change does not just happen overnight, but love the cause, love the country as much as Solo loved it, to just give his life so that you can be here continuing to love the country. It is a sad reality that we don't have people in Gambia who love that country as much as Solo did. You can say it by mouth. I can come here and be saying, "Oh my God, Gambia, I can carry every flag." But what does it take for you to be that citizen? What does it take for you to be that selfless, to give it all? I mean, if everybody carried themselves, do not give your life. You don't need to die. Do not just take yourself to mile two. Just be realistic and have the conviction to love your country, to love that Gambia. We would have been elsewhere than we are now. We wouldn't be talking about the little things that we keep meckering about, talking about. Like we don't have priorities as a country. We just have misplaced priorities. And when those things happen, why you never see me engage in petty conversations on Facebook, any social media platform, someone can come and say a lot of things about Solo. He didn't deserve to die and stuff. It hurts so bad. And some days I want to say a lot of things, but I go sleep and then I
Yeah.
come back tomorrow. I'm like, it's not worth it because Solo wouldn't have responded to this person. So I find like the country has a lot of misplaced priorities, even government, and then fighting over little things. And you forget that people have given their all and left you to continue that. At least have, I don't know what word to use. There should be some humility to understand that it took somebody's all for me to be here to give some of mine, just some
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah.
I wish we just understood that as a country. But on the part of like, let's say the mechanisms that are being used, let's say shifting from the personal, from the family, member, notion and stuff, and getting back to being someone who's in advocacy, also working with government very closely and stuff. I would say that policies are ongoing, things are being drafted and stuff. What I can say is that victims, in particular, feel like these processes, some of them are very slow, and they are not really, really concentrating on what victims really want. But I would say that I commend really the government, especially through the Minister of Justice, because they are the ones that I can talk about. Even today, we had a meeting with them updating us, especially the post TRC unit. They're amazing people. They're like so engaged, so involved, and they're doing everything they can. And I can only say thank you to the Minister of Justice. I mean, not thank you to say, oh my God, thank you. That's their duty. They're being paid for it. But thank you for understanding that Solo needed you to give some of yours for all of his. And I think we will get somewhere. We're getting to a lot of places with mechanisms and also systems in the TJ process. We hope that things will get better. But I hope and pray that Gambians take Gambia as theirs and not just anything to go by.
You know, a lot of people who know me and follow what I do certainly know I've
Mhm.
worked in the TRRC process, the Truth, Reconciliation,
Right, right.
Reparations
That's
Commission.
true.
And
That's
so
true, yeah.
I know these
Mm-hmm.
transitional justice mechanisms and processes, they take forever. They are not the
Mm-hmm.
swiftest,
Right.
and sometimes they're not even the most effective or the most responsive. But the idea
Right.
that the plans have been put in place to ensure people who experience some form of abuse and violations have some form of what looks like justice, right? I think that's extremely important. There has to be genuine and intentionality in ensuring that we're serious about accountability. Reconciliation is never a substitute for accountability. We always want to emphasize that as a matter of
You also
policy for any
realize, I
country.
just, I just,
Yes.
I just wanted to say this. You also realize that amazingly, you have universal jurisdiction cases going on. I mean, that gives relief to the victims, for example, to know that even if not in my country, because the Gambia, to be honest, sincerely, we have to push it. We can't let government relax to say, oh, we don't have the mechanisms or the money or the know-how or the system in place. Build the system. Let us do it in our country. Let us prosecute people. But you are happy to say, at least I'm at ease, that Switzerland, the US, or Germany is prosecuting a perpetrator who has run from the country thinking they can escape justice. And being around here, following all those processes and being involved in them gives me joy and pride when I get to those courthouses and see how the countries out here take these cases as theirs. The lawyers, the attorneys that we work with, the activists that we work with, they take Gambia as their own. And they have not known me from anywhere before this whole thing. And you realize humanity is one, and the country doesn't have the capacity yet, but it needs to endeavor to have it because we can't just rely on outsiders. Justice is very beautiful and feels nice, when it feels close to home. So that's something that we need to put as a first priority, I guess.
And certainly, to that end, you also founded the Solo Sandeng Foundation, and you work with a host of your siblings and also volunteers, and you guys are involved very deeply with international organizations in the sphere of human rights activism, for justice, for what we experience in the Gambia, but also around the world as well. And so that's an important work they continue to do. And if you want to get involved and support the Solo Sandem Foundation, their website is up. You can also reach out to Fatoumatta herself and support the work that they're doing. But Fatoumatta, certainly this journey has changed you as a woman, a daughter, and a citizen. S- what would you say to sort of wrap up this conversation, because we're reaching the hour mark? What would you want Gambians to remember your father beyond his death?
I want people to like connect Solo's name to love of country, like we said in his documentary, for love of country. just just love the country like Solo did, and you do justice by him because that's what he wanted you to do. He didn't want to be recognized or live lavishly or be crowned as whatever. After he had died, he would have chosen to just go and just put a head in and then rush back, and they would say, "Oh my God, Solo went there and he survived it." He gave all of it, like I said. So just do right by Gambia and the Gambian people. You would do right by Solo because for Solo, it was not about Solo, but it was about Gambia. And whatever you do for Gambia, whatever you do for betterment, for justice. And I would like to say this. I know we're reaching the mark and everything. Justice for Solo, justice for Gambia means justice for every oppressed person in this world. I can't pick and choose who I stand with, who I stand for, when every people is oppressed in Palestine, in Sudan, and everywhere else. We want to say justice is justice and humanity is one. In our hearts, when you get there, we just hate injustice that has been done to anyone. And the thing that Gambians have, it is not if it's not about me, nobody has done anything to me. It doesn't even affect me as much, even within Gambia. We have a certain set of victims. That's their business. The TJ process accountability is their business. It's not ours, and I go by my day. I'm happy, I'm leaving. That's your problem. You can come and cry on social media. We will just like you. We say, "Oh my God, may Allah have mercy on him." Alhamdulillah, Ameen. But what we need you to do is to stand up and act. That is when you show that you love humanity, not only for Gambia, but every oppressed person, because that's what builds your humanity, and it just shapes you, man. It just makes you human.
Cornell, one of my favorite public intellectuals in America, would always say, "Justice is what looks like in public," and I think you've basically articulated that very poignantly. But before I ask you my final question, for those of you that are watching here, please thank you all for being here. And while you're here, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Dialectic Space Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Supersonic Microfinance, and if you're in North America and you wish to send money to your family members, the Gambian-owned company can support what they're doing. I think that's also extremely important, as they are supporting what we're doing here as well on the Dialectic Space podcast. And I've been talking to Fatoumatta Sandeng, the CEO and founder of Solo Sandeng Foundation, and we are talking about the journey, our own journey, but also the experience of lost in light of the death of Solo Sandeng in 2016. Fatoumatta, finally, my final question is this: is my question of hope and for the future for all the young girls or young women in the Gambia who are looking at this interview and want to take meaning and purpose and emulation from what we're talking about. What is your message to them, especially for those who do not believe that they have a voice, or they're struggling to find themselves and their identity, or even spiritually, whatever is it that they're going through? What is your message to young Gambians? What is it that they could learn from your story as they find their purpose and meaning and identity in this very complicated world?
I mean, I'm a very, very huge believer, fan, lover, everything of my faith. And I tell people, if I were not shaped by my faith to face what happened to Solo in 2016, I'm not sure how I was going to face it. Because you remember, a few months before April 14, 2016, I started practicing, right? I was in this, like, I started going to read the Quran and everything. The faith was built here in me, and then the tragedy happened. So to me, it was a preparation, really. And my faith really made me believe that I was hurting, but there's somewhat to that hurt, right? It was also a call for me to get up and do something, because you can't just lie down there and be a victim all the time.
Yeah.
And when I go to conferences, when I go talk to people, they ask me, "What is the power that lets you speak up like this as a young woman?" I tell them my faith. Islam empowers women. Islam gives you every meaning to life, to womanhood that you're looking for. I mean, some people might misuse it and try to make you feel like you are not who you are, but of course you are. When you're mindful of the laws of God and then you're mindful of what the rights He's given you and the rights of other people, you're good, man. You're really okay. Nobody shakens me with whatever they feel like they can say about a woman, because when I sit and look at Allah's laws and Islam's laws and everything, what my faith tells me you have and you are, I can't compare that to anything else. And my power every single morning is the fact that I draw it from the fact that the one who created me empowers me as much, makes me feel like I have a voice and I have a purpose. And if you believe in yourself that you have a voice and a purpose, nobody tells you your hijab or your khimar or your abaya is not an identity that you need to take to the UN convention. Because the UN convention listens to me, doesn't dictate me. And that is who you are. And you tell them what they need to hear, they don't tell you what you need to do. Run with that, have faith, believe in yourself, because your faith is going to uplift you. And there's nothing that can put you down. I mean, you rightly said, when you want something, like you said, when I want something, I really go for it. And I think that's the conviction that faith also strengthened in me more. I am me. And this my appearance. The appearance is who I am. You can't change that. You either sit and listen or leave the room because I'm not moving. That's what you need to have. Yeah.
Well, Fatima, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I think it's natural that we both had to go through that moment of, being emotional about
Yeah.
the stories. Not that we haven't had those stories over, but it's still, anytime I
Mhm.
hear a solo story, it still gets to me.
I'm
And I
sorry.
think for
I'm
most
sorry
people,
about
yeah, so now it's not your fault. So I want to apologize to you for even having to bring that conversation up, because I think I owe you that. But it's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you and catching up with you as well. And I hope that as fight, you know that you're not alone. That the rest of us, even though we may not manifest it publicly, we are with you in spirit. We are with you in prayer, but we are also with you in terms of our voice, using platforms like mine to continue to push for accountability, to continue to push for things that are absolutely necessary for us to move on as a country, because there can be no peace, no justice without accountability first. And so for me, that's
that.
extremely important. The road could be very isolating. It could be very, ostracizing sometimes. It could be very lonely. But I think how far we've come as a country speaks to the fact that
Mhm.
even if at
Mhm.
institutional level there is not much being done, but people care enough
Mhm.
to talk about these things. And so I really appreciate
Right.
you coming on and having a conversation with me.
Thank you. Thank you, Sis. And one last thing is that when you see Fatumata anywhere, don't see her as someone who's still crying over Solo. I do cry over him, but I'm not being left on the bed crying all over. Just see her as someone who carries Solo's legacy. And when you support that legacy, you're doing well for the Gambia. And I think that's where we have to shift a little. There is Solo, there's a tragedy. But beyond that tragedy is that we all embody Solo and we go with it. And that will give us
Yeah.
everything. And thank you for having me. It was absolutely amazing. I know we wouldn't have exhausted everything we needed to catch up on if you had 3 hours. But yeah, people just
Yeah.
need to log off. So
Yeah, no, certainly
thank
we
you for
can go
having
on
me.
and on and on and on, and we'll do this again for sure. I mean, we're
Right,
very good
right.
friends, so that's the power of having your friend who also runs a show. So,
Mhm. So I'll
so
text you, hey, we need to come on. So yeah.
yeah. Now I will reach out to
Thank
you
you, man.
because yes, especially if you guys are doing some important projects with the foundation, so we can always hop on
Right.
and have
I
conversation.
want to
And
say, like you mentioned, people should support the foundation because we just run on donations, on grants and everything, and whatever you give to the foundation, that goes to the work of making sure Solo's legacy lives on. So we will catch up. We would make sure that we work together.
thank you so much, Famata.
You're welcome. You're welcome, my
Yeah.
dear.
Thank you, all our
Right.
audience who are here as well. Once again, this episode is sponsored by Supersonic Microfinance. They are our partner for this show. If you want to sponsor an episode of the Dialectic Space podcast, if you're a business or a small startup, we don't really discriminate. Come on, reach out. Let's have a conversation and see where we go from there. Once again, thank you all for being here. Tomorrow, I'll be back with Safia the Juf to talk to her about her literary work. You all have a wonderful Friday and Juma Mubarak. Thank you all very much.